I heard about the ENT class through some of my friends. Went to a ride along, took the class, and then I was kind of like, well, here I am.
Getting to meet people that you've helped previously and seeing them on the street, or they've come by the station to say hello and thank you. It's just a rewarding experience. I would do it all over.
Searching for an unforgettable summer for your child? At Old Mel's Farm, campers spend days riding horses, learning horsemanship, caring for animals, making new friends, and enjoying real farm adventures. From beginners to horse lovers, our small camps offer a fun, safe, hands-on experience they'll talk about all year. Old Mel's Farm, DeVille, Louisiana. Call 318-794-9533 to register. Spots are limited.
Hi, this is Pastor Roger L. Green Sr., pastor of the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. We're welcoming you to our worship services on Sunday morning. Sunday school begin at 8 a.m. Worship services begin at 9 a.m. Come and grow with us, a place of faith, family, and fellowship. We would love to have you. Come see us Sunday morning. We'll see you there.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk. I'm going to try that again. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk here on UrbanCast. Crime is on the minds of a lot of people right now, but tonight we're not just going to talk about another shooting or another arrest. We're having an honest, heart-to-heart conversation about what's happening in our community and why. My guest tonight is Deacon Bruce Douglas of True Vine Missionary Baptist Church, the community church. True Vine is preparing for its September the 12th men's conference, which has been planned for quite some time now. Bridging the gap, teens, law enforcement, faith, one community. We'll get into the conference itself in part two. We're going to actually break this down into two parts to help promote the men's conference. But tonight we're going to talk about the why this conversation is even necessary in our community. But before we begin and get into all of the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, I always like to give our guests an opportunity to tell people who they are in their own words. Bruce, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Get it, my brother.
Go ahead. Introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay, yeah, Bruce Douglas. I'm from New Orleans. I'm originally from New Orleans, the uptown area, the third ward we call it, around the Calio Project. And if you know anything about New Orleans and that Calio Project, I had to put in some work down there back in them days. Let's see, I grew up there, went to high school there, and I knew back in those days that I had to leave New Orleans because New Orleans was full of whatever it is you wanted, whatever you can imagine was happening in New Orleans. It's happening now, and it was happening back then. So I joined the military, went to the Army, stayed in the Army about 8 years. Then I got out and I came back home to New Orleans, and that's where my downfall started. I got in trouble, had to go to prison, and so. But I can tell you one thing about that experience that saved my life, okay? And that changed me to the man that I am today. And I thank God for that experience. And I'm mentioning that also because when you're dealing with teens today, they don't want to talk to you unless you've been in their shoes or you're in a path that they think that you're not familiar with, and you are. So when I talk to youth and I engage with them, I interact with them, I know where you're headed because I've been there, and I don't want you to make the mistakes that I made. So that's why I mention that to people. Okay. Now after I came home and I called it vacation, when I came on vacation, I went to college. I went to LSU and got my undergraduate and my master's degree, and I got a PhD. And so and start working in academia. God had blessed me with that. You know, you got a skill set. Now I'm marketable, and I can do some things. I can make some money and take care of my family. And while I was in school at LSU, I met my wife, my Proverbs 31 woman. That's what I call her. She's this age, and she was born and raised here in Alexandria, and she grew up in this church. And so once we got married and we started traveling around the country with her career, once she decided to retire, we came on home, and this is home. And so we had no choice. I had no choice, but this is the church we're going to serve in. And so that's where we're at. So that's where we're at today. And I thank God for the journey that I've been on. It wasn't a pleasant one, but it was one that molded me to the person I am today. And I thank God for that.
Right. You know, Bruce, when you and I were talking earlier in the week, you said something that really stuck with me. We can't fix what we don't acknowledge. So let's start right there. What aren't we acknowledging, and how did we get here?
There's a disconnect in the communities. Now, I've only been in this community for a couple of years now, right? But I can feel it in the atmosphere, because based on my experiences and the life that I've lived back in the ghettos in New Orleans, there's a disconnect between the law enforcement, the teenagers on the streets, the public officials, and the church as well. Because we all need to be working together, because at one time in these communities, the church was the only place we had to go to. Once everything opened up, and you know, segregation and all that stuff, I think it was a part of the problem. I think Brown versus Board of Education was probably one of the worst things that happened to us, because we should take care of our own children before that. And when they start busting them everywhere, that became a problem. But the church has always been a pillar in the community, and it will continue to be a pillar in the community. So that's why I started to work hard at this church to do the things that God has called me to do. But that's the disconnect. I think there's a real disconnect. Now, I don't know how deep it is right now. That's why we need to have this conversation.
Right.
Because when I speak with people, especially my mentor, that's Brother Pastor Richard Quinney. In fact, this whole conference theme was basically his idea. We're not having this conversation, brother. And I'm like, well, why are we not having this conversation? Because see, I'm not from here. I don't know who to be scared of. I don't know what's going on, and it doesn't really bother me, because that ain't where I'm at no more in life. So let's have the conversation.
Right.
Since you posted that flyer, I can see what he's talking about. That's okay, because that's the battlefield work to me. You're on the battlefield for the Lord. You better get ready. You got to have the full arm on.
Right.
So that's what I'm feeling right now, and I'm on fire for that.
All right. I hope I didn't get you in any trouble by putting that flyer out.
I'm just gonna keep it real with you, brother. That's all I got.
I know the last time I looked, over 20,000 people saw that flyer, so you know, it went out. So you might have got a couple of comments. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, I got comments and calls.
And calls. Okay, good.
Man, talk to me about 30 minutes. Like I said, brother, I got to go eat dinner, man. I got to go.
Well, look, it did what it was intended to do. We're talking, right?
Amen. I agree.
We're talking about violence, drug, education, law enforcement, family, and opportunity. Are these separate problems in your opinion, Bruce?
No, it's all related, and it's been going on. And see, I live in the hood. And we know, it's been my experience that people don't care what happens in the hood. And who is they? We're talking about the public officials, law enforcement. They don't care if we kill up each other. That's less work they got to do, right? But I grew up in a hood, and now I'm still living in the hood, and I think that's where I'm supposed to be, because I want to be an example for people. Because I've had my problems in life, but I don't want these young people to go down that path, you know, because that ain't the right path. Once you get caught into this criminal justice system, Doc, they ain't letting you loose. It's just like your job. Once you get on the job, if you go to the military and you want to do 20, 25, 30 years, you know, you can do that. But once you get in that criminal justice system, they're gonna do everything they can to keep you in that criminal justice system. You in there. Free labor. And I talk to kids about that. You don't want to start this path. You got to make yourself marketable. You got to have a skill set. So all that's related, and I think it's systemic as well. Taking the fathers out of the home,
Mm-hmm.
And the education system, all that. It's failing our young folks. And I can see that firsthand from just by working at True Vine.
There's another word we need to put into this conversation, and that's leadership. And I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about elected leadership, school leadership, law enforcement leadership, churches, business, economic development, organization, community organization. Everybody have to have that seat at the table doing their part. What's your thoughts about that? You know, a lot of times we want to just say it's the elected leaders, but it seems like, you know, I tell you, we had a conversation with Murphy Paul, who was the former chief of police down in Baton Rouge. And one of the things he said when, and I think it was right after that incident that happened at the Mall of Louisiana down in Baton Rouge, that first one that happened where they had a big shootout down there. And he said that, you know, when law enforcement get involved in all of this stuff that's going on, it's like a lot of the systems have failed. School has failed, the home has failed, the church has failed, the social, you know, organizations that could have stopped something, all of that stuff, you know, failed. So how do we get everybody to the, you know, you say you're not from here, and but you're living here right now, so you're a part of us.
Yes, sir.
How do we get everybody to acknowledge that, you know, I got a part to play in this thing, just as well as the family.
Yeah, first step to me, you gotta have a conversation about it, and you gotta invite the key people to the table. That's what this conference is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing the people to the table so we can see where the problems lie and how do we make that connection. I'm on the church side and I'm working with the church now, and so my role in this part is from the church's standpoint. Now, here's something that I hear a lot in the community. People like that, they don't want to be role models. You ain't got no choice, especially if in this community and people look up to you and they see you, especially if you're in the church environment. If we call ourselves the community church. We want to be the community church. We're not there yet. We got a lot of work to do. We're working on our 501c3 status so we can be able to help more people. But in the meantime, the people that are already here, that are in the church, you got to set examples for them. And people need role models. Even though you don't want to be one, if you're going to be a part of this church, you're going to be a role model because they got people looking at you every day. They're watching what you do every day. I'm proud to say I'm a deacon at True Vine. And I know a lot of people watching me. A lot of people watching me want me to fall as well. But that ain't going to happen because I'm on God's team now. Mm-hmm. So whatever I do, I'm going to ask God to help me with it first. And then we're going to move forward with it. And I'm going to let him lead me and guide me. And I think that's what I'm doing. We got to have this conversation. Pastor Quinty said that to me. He said, you know, if we talk about this, a lot of people don't want to discuss this in the community. But why not? Because we got to see what's happening. And you got to bring the key people to the table. That's what this conference is doing. I don't know a lot about this community. I don't know what's going on deeply because I'm not deeply involved in it. But I'm deeply involved in this church, and I know this church wants to make a direct impact on the lives of young folks in this community. And in order to do that, we got to first open up the dialogue.
Got to open up the dialogue. Hey, you know, one of the things over here at UrbanCast, we definitely, you know, believe that concept that the dialogue is very important. That's why when one of you know, when Stephanie reached out to us and was like, you know, is this something? What can we do to help talk about and promote this? This was right up our alley because we firmly believe we need to be talking about it, and we need to be talking about it and talking about it some more. You know, and it's probably one of the big issues where the big disconnect is, you know, like, for example, we have national data and national information coming out and it's quote unquote not matching what's going on here. But in actuality, it is the reality of what's going on here. But we're not talking about it. It's like for the last 2 decades, we have just, you know, ignored this issue, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And it's time for us to put some brakes on. We're not going to get out of it overnight, but we got to start doing something. And there are a lot of people out there doing some good work. But I think we're going to have to have that rallying call where we all come to the table, truly come to the table, and start saying, hey, this is something that we really need to get in. You know, we need to start taking part. And I can just tell you, you know, right off bat, UrbanCast is on board with any of that we're talking about to improve our community.
I appreciate it, and that's where we're at. That's where my heart is at for sure. And I know our pastor feels that way as well. We want to be the community church. We got to help. We got to bring solutions to the table.
Right.
Either you're part of the solution or you're part of the problem.
Right.
Complaining all the time about what's going on, then you just part of the problem, if you ask me. But
Right.
you got with some concrete ideas on how do we move forward and work collectively to save our people.
Right.
Because they are our responsibility, whether we want to believe that or not. The future of our children are our responsibility. I see these little kids in there when they come to Sunday school. Here's my pet peeve with that, and I think we spoke about this.
Mm-hmm.
We got to make sure these children know how to read, man. I teach Sunday school as well over here, right? And I'm interacting with the students, and you ask them to read a couple of scriptures out the Bible, and either they put their head down, or the ones that are reading, they stumbling. And we talking teenagers. We're talking high school students. And that's gonna be a problem because I already know if you can't read or write when you come out of there, you ain't gonna be able to get no job. You ain't gonna be, and you don't have a skill set as well. They're waiting for you out there. The drug dealers and all the evil stuff that's out there. They're gonna show you that fast money because you ain't got to worry about reading and writing with me. You just count this money, and we gonna live happily ever after.
Right.
And that's a crush. That's a downfall for our black people. Especially these young black men and women in this community.
Right.
And we gotta do something about that. And this is what this church is all about. We want to be proactive as opposed to being reactive.
We're seeing you answered my previous question that I was about to ask you. What were you seeing in the young folks? So you started answering that question before I even got it. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip on by that one now. I'm gonna jump on into the next question I have for you. We're seeing serious violence among young people, and sometimes these young folk are not strangers with each other. They grew up together. They went to school together. They went to church together. The families know each other. What does that tell you when conflict between young people who have known each other for years and years end up and somebody is dead?
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. That's crazy. At one time we used to respect our elders in the community. If somebody saw you in the community doing something wrong and they correct you, and you don't want them to go back and tell your mom or your dad. Going away from that, and these young folks, they just don't have. I don't think they have the respect that we used to have back in the past. And I really believe because of the family structure has been broken. You got a bunch of single parent homes, right? And these mothers are working 2-3 jobs, so the kids got to raise themselves basically. You understand? And so they need those positive male role models. And you got a lot of women doing a lot of stuff in this community, but I don't see a lot of men doing a lot of things. Now I don't know if they still chasing the dollar or they're trying to, you're trying to make as much as you can, but you still got to have a profound impact on this community because here's what I know happens. When these kids go to prison, right, and they do their time, however much time they got to do, they got to come back home. They got to come back somewhere, and they coming back where they grew up at. We got to have something for them because if they don't have a job, if we can't help them get a skill set to make them marketable, they're gonna go back to doing the same things they used to do because everybody got to eat. You got to eat. You got to have somewhere to stay. You understand? And those basic, you got those basic things you need in life. And if you don't got a skill set to make yourself marketable, because I'm gonna tell you what happens with these kids. They come back home and you work these fast food jobs, and you got to work 2 or 3 of them in order to make a decent amount of money. Something that you can come home and say, okay, you're all right, may have an extra change to get you a couple extra burgers yourself. But that's hard work, man. And if you ain't got no vehicle, you're definitely in trouble, especially here in Alexandria. We got jobs. They may have jobs out here, right? But they can't get to them. Brother was talking to me the other day about I get on the tangent. You have to pull me back sometimes.
Yeah, right.
The food doesn't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just getting ready to say, man. This issue that we're dealing with, it's not like it's not an easy problem to solve because it's so big, it's so complex. And a lot of times people want to sum it up as it being just jobs or just the family or just the church or just whatever. This thing is just like, in some cases, it's like, where do you start? You know what I mean? You could say start with the family, but when you say start with the family is no what we grew up and recognized as a family isn't there. So you really have to start saying, what did we do to pull the family back together? I know earlier in the conversation you talked about getting these daddies back in the home. I think we need to have programs, by any means necessary. We need to pull the daddies back into the home. We in the 70s and the late 60s, 70s, 80s, we was watching to make sure the daddy was getting taken and put out of the home and things of that nature. Now we need to be just as aggressive in getting daddies back into the home. But that's a whole, that's a whole nother discussion all by itself. But it is a big part of this thing. And then, then daddy got to have some kind of way. He got to be able to take care of the family. So it's got to be, the opportunity to get a living wage kind of job, or the ability to have a job where you can sustain your family. And unfortunately, that's not happening in our area. But before we go there, I know I went off on a tangent there. What is happening between in your opinion, about disagreements when somebody, when I'm disagreeing with you, and the only way I can figure out to solve this problem is to reach for the gun. Have we lost something when it comes to just basic conflict resolution? Man, when I was in school, young men had their guns, they had their rifles in the back of the truck, and they went hunting somewhere after, and nobody was thinking about saying, I'm going to use that gun to own somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People do what they see. I mean, the kids do what they see. Whoever's in their life, and however they handle conflict, and that's what the child's going to do, because that's what they see. Now, my daughter, I try to tell my daughter to do certain things. She gonna do what she see me do. That's why my job. That's why I'm the role model in this family, and that's why I don't just send her to church. I go to church too, and I'm active in the church, and that's what I want her to see, and that's what she's doing now. She's trying to get active in the church. She's got some flaws with her, but we're working with her. Now, let's talk about the church and the family. The family, because all kids need a family, a good, strong family structure. That's where the church comes in. See, the church is a family. See, this is our family. When you join True Vine, you join the family. You see, and we got to treat it as a family. They got elders in the church. We got fathers and mothers and aunts and uncles, and people giving you direction and leaders and guidance. And that's what you need. That's what young folks need. They need a family environment. Somebody who can show them some love. And you can't be afraid to tell a child when you make a mistake. When you do something wrong, you got to apologize. You got to use your examples to help them with conflict resolution. Right? That's how you help them with that. If they don't know how to do nothing different other than fight, then that's what they're gonna do. But if I can show them a different way how to resolve that, we use some of those examples when I'm teaching Sunday school. When things happen in there, how do we solve those issues when somebody come up on you? It's all right for you to walk away. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right for you to walk away. And let's cooler heads reveal. But they got to see that, because I'm gonna tell you what happens in the church. We have conflicts too. Grown folks fight all the time in the church. Oh yeah, they argue about all kind of stuff. Children are watching this too.
Right.
And they like to see how we handle those situations, or how we escalate, because sometimes it can escalate.
Right.
Lose. They want to win the argument even in church. But these children are watching us, and so why can't cooler heads prevail? Why can't somebody just be the bigger person and just leave that alone right now? Let's come, because oftentimes when you sit back and you let it go and you walk away from it and you calm down, it's not as bad as you think it was. It's really not. And God's gonna give you, and if you pray on it, then God's gonna give you an out for that. He always gives you an out. Right. But the family, the church is the family. That's what I want to hit on. And if we're a family, then we gotta act like we're a family. We got mamas and daddies and uncles and aunts in the family. And you got to set examples for the young folks.
I hear you. Another thing that when we were talking, you brought up drugs when you and I talked. How visible are drugs and substance abuse to people who are actually living and working in, how, when you think about the community that Truvine is sitting in, how readily available are drugs to the residents in that area?
Man, you could I could drive down the street or walk down the street, and you can buy almost anything you want to off these streets right now. And they don't care who looking. They'll pull up. You can pull up to a car, or somebody's walking out, or they standing in a certain spot somewhere. See, ain't nobody crazy. We know why you standing here in this spot, and everybody coming by you, and everything. And when they come by, they don't stay that long, and they moving on, and you still standing there. You understand? You're working. You're putting in work. We see what you're doing, and the children see that as well. You know, I in this community, and I see it all the time, and it just bothers me. I don't understand how these people live like this. They walking around and they talking to themselves, right? They own something. They're talking loud too. I mean, they talking real loud and they cussing themselves out to anybody walking around them. And from my understanding, you can get this fentanyl stuff. You can get this it's like candy around here. And the children can tell you that. They know where all this stuff is at as well. You know, I got a young man that comes. He's not a young man. He lives in my neighborhood, and he comes by my house all the time. And to me, he's considered a bum. He's one of those guys that's on the street. Sometimes you catch him talking to himself and all that stuff there. But when he comes to my house, he comes a lot of times, and I feed him because that's what I'm supposed to do. God said, "You least among us." And I asked him, "Why you doing all this, man? What the people see you out here acting a fool, you know?" And he has no direct answer, but that's what he's been doing. But I know one thing: when you come to my house, you got to leave that food just at the door. You can't bring that over here. When you come around this corner and you come to my house and you knock on my door, you got to come correct, dog, or I ain't gonna mess with you. So if you want this meal, you understand. And then I ain't just feeding. We talking. We conversing. In fact, that's where I get all my news from in this community. and the old man told me, he said, "Man, all the stuff that's going on in this community, you ain't gonna see it on KLB." And I think he's right. The stuff that happens in the hood, in this community that I'm in the lower third, in the Katy Village, that stuff gets swept under the rug. Or if it's happening, we ain't gonna hear about it on the news. That's why when I ran the UrbanCast, I fell in love. I said, these people here right on spot. They real time and they doing real live work, and they right there in the trenches. They're right there where it's happening, and they reporting it live right there. And that's what we need to see, what's exactly going on, because that's the part of this acknowledging what's going on. If we don't acknowledge that it's happening, then we can't fix it.
You can't fix it.
Can't fix it all because we don't want to say it's happening. Now that's what the news tell me when I look at the 10 o'clock news. Oh, must not be no violence around here because I don't see that. But when that man come to my house, I ain't gonna say his name because a lot of people know him around here. He informs me on what's going on every morning. All the things that happened the night before. And I just sit back and listen to him.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's a godsend to me.
Oh yeah. Well, it is so weird, you know, and not necessarily weird, but you know, it is interesting how, you know, we gravitated to the idea that the information and what was happening in our community wasn't getting to the masses, and you know, and that was our mission, and was to get, you know, just the 10% that we get right now, twofold. And what we focus on is the things that we consider critical to our community, things that we really need to be paying attention to, you know, and thank God when we're talking about our children, you know, when they're doing stuff, when they're, you know, excelling in sports, excelling in education, academics, and whatever, you know, it does just as well as the stuff that, you know, the crime scene out there and different things of that nature. But I think one of the things that we had to prove to the people initially was that we were going to talk about the hard things that we needed to talk about in the community. Yep. You told me you work with the teens who are struggling with just reading. You talked about you're dealing with high school students that struggle to read perhaps scripture and different things of that nature, things that they should be able to do right now. How does a child, in your opinion, reach high school without having the reading skills necessary to function,
Wow.
at that level?
Yeah, it's a breakdown in that school system, man. I mean, it is what it is. You can't see when you get those children early. Like we got a bunch of pre-K kids up in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we gotta hit home. I do the Sunday school. I order the Sunday school books as well, and I want to get a books that have some words in there for these young kids, because that's where you got to get them at. If they don't have the basic foundation, they ain't gonna learn how to read. And it's true. The saying is true. If a kid can't read by the time they get to third grade, they're in trouble, because the prison system waiting on them. That's what the prison system does. If they see that kid is not achieving at a certain level academically, then they start building prison for them, because they know what's going to happen in the next 15, 20 years. You see, that's why we got to make sure they know their ABCs. They know they 1, 2, 3, and we hone in on that skill set, and we start early, and they hear us read, and we want them to read as well, and we correct them. And you got to do it in the church. Because see, some kids, they're scared to get up and do things. They're scared, I don't want to get in the church, I'm going to be embarrassed, all that stuff there. This is your family. See, the church is your family. This is where you make your mistakes, and this is where you learn it. See, I want to get you ready for that world out there. Yeah. The world is what's going to knock it out. I want you to come here and make all the mistakes you do. On third Sundays, we let the kids get up, and they gotta do a prayer. They open up the service for us and everything, and they just as nervous, and I don't know what, they're shaking like a bad pair of dice. But I think that's how we got to push them. You gotta be able to talk to people. You gotta be able to get in front of a crowd and explain yourself and express yourself. But they gotta see it first and see that you can do that. I do it first, and now I want you to do it. And if you make a mistake, we're gonna correct that right here. And even if you mess it up, first of all, you can't mess it up because you're at church, and the people gonna applaud it, and they're gonna support you 100%. But that's when we come back as leaders in this church, as mentors, and correct them and show them the right way and give them example of what that looks like. Because a lot of people, that's how they learn, by seeing other people. We got to show them what that looks like. I'm a firm advocate of reading. I got a young man that lives close to me, and he would come to my house, and I would let him do things around the house, right? So I'm gonna give him a little change, right? So he comes regularly, and I'm saying, why don't we do this? Why don't we go? He's in high school now. In Peabody. I can say that because this is a community we live in. I say, why don't we go fill out an application at McDonald's or some of these restaurants so we can get you a regular job so you can keep some money in your pocket on a regular basis. If you're talking about you can't get to the job, I'll give you a ride to the job. Or you got a bike, you can ride your bike to the job, right? The young man looked at me and he said, and it broke my heart. He said, I can't read that well. He knows this. He said that to me. He can't read that well, and that crushed me. So how do I try to help save this? Help this man get on the right track? Because if he don't get it together, when he graduates, because he's gonna graduate, they're gonna give him a diploma.
Right.
Now what he gonna do? Does he have a marketable skill? I see him cutting grass. He's working with a couple of people on their grass cutting crews, right? That's seasonal. I started talking to him about being a truck driver. Let's see if we can get you some CDL license. We got to find a skill set for that young man to make him marketable so he can be a productive citizen in society. And if we don't, then the drug dealer's gonna get it.
Right.
And when he get in that world and that money come fast like that, then he's stuck. It's gonna be hard to pull him out of there. So I got to work with this man now. Well, I got his attention, right? We got to talk about, and every time I see him, we got to talk about doing something, getting a skill set, my brother. Because if you ask me personally, the boy ain't going to college. You understand? He ain't got no resources to go to college. First of all, he ain't got no resources. And then if he ain't academically there at that level, you setting him up for failure.
You know, Bruce, the thing here with that child is that the first thing that has happened is you've developed a communication channel with it. So that's a wonderful thing. right there, that y'all at least are talking and you've identified, an issue. And, and it's so often we're not listening, well enough to, identify. We talking at the children. It's sometimes it's just good to just sit down and listen sometimes, because we learn a lot of stuff by just sitting back and we listening. So you know what? It is no telling what the possibilities could actually be now that you got a communication channel, but you just need time. So my question is, before we move too much further, in order to fix this failure, we have to first own up to, where did this colossal breakdown, did it happen, did it happen at home? Did it happen at school? Was it the community? Or is it a combination of a shared responsibility that we need to start working on? What's your thought about that, so we can...
Yeah, because I like to use that term, because I'm a part of this church, and this church wants to be the community church, and we got to take responsibility for what's going on with the youth in this community. We have to take responsibility for that, right? Now, that's why I went to saying the church is the family. If the family structure is messed up already at the house, yeah, we're going to help you with that. We're going to show you what this family structure looks like. If stuff's not, because there's a disconnect. The families, these mothers, and I applaud single parents. I was raised by a single parent. My mother and my grandmother raised me. I ain't know who no daddy was. Yeah, I ain't met my dad until I was 25, and I ain't know that was my daddy. So I'm just like these boys on the streets here, right? But the thing is, we got to help those ladies that are in those positions. We got to have programs to help them with that, like tutoring programs, after school programs, and the church has to open the doors to do that. Now, here's the problem with the church. Here's the problem at our church, right? We got all these great ideas. The harvest is plentiful, but the labors are few, man. I don't want to kill myself, and whoever else is working with me, right? You got to set boundaries, because there's a lot of things I want to do in this community, but can't do it by myself. That's why we got to have a dialogue. We got to see what other programs exist in this community, and we got to work collectively. It's a collective effort to say whatever's going on in our community. It's got to be a collective effort. We got to have programs for these mothers. We got for these single parent mothers who we got a food pantry, right? That we have here at True Vine, and once a month we give out food, nice food too. Man, them people eat good, right? And we don't see a lot of young folks coming to get this. There's a lot of older folks coming, but you got some parents that need to take advantage of the food bank. It's right here in your community. All you gotta do is sign up, and you're gonna get some food that's gonna last you for a while. You don't have to go to the grocery store. You got everything at this food pantry that can help you. You can feed your children a balanced meal, because they can't go to school hungry. If they hungry, they ain't gonna be able to learn. And that's why I love this food pantry. That's why I love this church. We doing something in the community, right? That's a part of the solution as opposed to being a part of the problem.
That's right.
Now they got holes in it. Now things all under the wire, but we're active. We're doing something.
Right.
We're trying to make a difference in this community, and that's a part of it.
Well, as with everything, you're gonna have. You and I kind of talked about that up in the front. There's gonna always be somebody criticizing, but if we sit around and we wait to that perfect moment, will that perfect moment ever pop up? So the idea is to get out there and do it. I applaud all of the stuff that I see happening at True Vine, and to y'all members, I just say keep it up, because I'm on the outside looking in. I'm not a member, and I know some of your members be wanting to say, hey, let's do a little bit more. But you know what? Me from the outside looking in and seeing, programs and stuff that's happening over at the church, I say y'all out there, and y'all creating that beacon that other churches could say, hey, we can do this. We can start offering this, or we could come together and offer these things from a community standpoint, and that kind of stuff. So it has to start somewhere. So I applaud y'all for just saying, hey, I'm gonna do something. I see everything from the haircuts, the the showers, the the back to school prayer breakfast, all of these things, they're coming out of True Vines. The political forums, they're coming out of True Vine. So
Christian
don't
education.
beat yourself. I want to just say, don't beat yourself up, because there are folk out here who are paying attention and saying, "Hey, y'all doing a damn good job."
Yeah, we got a strong Christian
Excuse me, don't beat me up too bad.
Educate the community as far as Christian education is concerned. Yeah, like this full Saturday coming up, we got an hour of power. It starts at 8:00. That's when right now we're working on the fundamentals of faith. Then that's from 10 to 11. At 11 o'clock, we have brotherhood meetings. And it's invited to the community. If you want to come in and see what the brothers are talking about, come to the meetings. At 12 o'clock, we got a prayer warriors meeting. So opening the doors, we have some Christian education initiatives going on in this church, and it's open to the community. You can come to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But because we welcome you on a regular basis. We do a breakfast every Sunday morning. We start breakfast at 9. Sunday school starts at 9:30. And we decide to go to a hot breakfast every morning. And we don't mind if people come take advantage of that. Now it's supposed to be for just the church members, right? But the door opens up. We got a bunch of people waiting on that door to open up, and we feed them. Right. We want them to come to church. We doing our best to try to get them to come to church, or at least stay for Sunday school. Right. But that's a task in itself. But we ain't gonna stop from feed. We're gonna feed you. We're gonna continue to feed you. Come get your hot meal. If this is the only place you know you can come get a hot meal, then I want True Vine to be known for the place that you come to go get a hot meal. Come get a hot meal. Look, man. When I saw the number of children you guys helped with a haircut, something as simple as a haircut going back to school on the first day of school. That's heavy. That's heavy, and the self-esteem that come with that. Going to school and they looking just as fresh as everybody else around them, and really just to see, the barbers over there lined up, and the beauticians that are doing the hair, and to see how that has grown, and to see, it was a very diverse group of people. I mean, it was people from down in the Forest Hill area. There was people from all the way over in the DeVille area coming to get their hair cut. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was people coming right here in town. So, y'all doors are open, man. And like I say, y'all beat each other up over there if y'all want to, but we out here, we don't know no better. We say y'all looking pretty good. That's Deacon Talks Initiative. That's that outreach ministry with those haircuts, and we know that's a beautiful thing, and we know that because the kids, some of them struggling. You can't. You got to pay for a haircut. Haircuts cost over $20 now. And more than that. Yeah. And back to school, you got backpacks and school supplies and all that stuff there. And sometimes we have clothes drives over here. Yeah. Don't come up, we're gonna need coats for these kids. So we start thinking we're trying to be proactive over here as opposed to being reactive. So we know what's gonna happen in the future. It happens every year. So why don't we just be proactive, be ready for it when it does happen? We have solutions to those problems. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we doing some. I think we're doing some great things. We can do better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We definitely can do better. We can do more. Yeah. But it's got to take a collective effort, though. See. Right. But again, y'all, I don't want to get burned out. I don't want to burn out Davidson. I don't want to burn because you got a lot of people. But see, at True Vine, we got a lot of people that's been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And we understand that everybody can't do the work that they used to do in the past. So you gotta pass that mantle to somebody. Yeah. That's right. And that's one of the big things in our community we've not done a good job at doing, and that is teaching. But the idea that you guys are letting the children open the church up. In other words, you're beginning to transfer that skill of church to the child. So that's a good example of that transfer, that skill being transferred from the elders. Y'all can sit back and just look at that time. You know what I mean? But and over a period of time, they get better. You go to see how when their chest starts sticking out. But they're scared at first. Now they scared at first. Got a little young man over there. I said, "You gonna pray this? You gonna pray today? After they collect communion today, young man, you gonna pray." Oh, what I'm gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna do. He's fumbling. You're gonna pray. You're gonna be all right, young man. Here's what you're gonna say. And we told him what to say, and he got up there, and he was nervous on it, was shaking like a bad pair of dice.
Yeah.
Got it. It was over with. He felt
Look,
much.
I tell you what, we are having a good conversation here. You know, I wish we'd have known. I'm gonna get on Stephanie. She should have called us a little ahead of time, because you know this conversation is one though. We need to be having this conversation over and over and over, and and I don't think it's no such thing as nobody duplicating this conversation. But for those of y'all who just joined us, we are having an honest conversation with Deacon Bruce Douglas over there at True Vine Missionary Baptist Church about what's happening in our community and how we got here. This conversation leads into True Vine's Bridging the Gap Teens, Law Enforcement, Faith, and One Community. That's going to happen on Saturday the 12th from 8:30 to 2 p.m. over at True Vine Baptist Church. They're located at 831 Broadway Avenue. And there's a registration fee that's $10, and for 13 to 17, 20 for 18 and older. You know, we're going to talk about the conference itself at another later time. But Bruce, you said you wanted to address some issues about some of the concerns where people were saying something about the fee. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, there's a nominal fee, $20 for the adults and $10 for the young men, 13 to 17. But here's what it covers, because every conference incurs a cost. Now, when they come here, we're gonna feed them. Start with a continental breakfast, and that breakfast, the continental breakfast is huge. We're gonna continue to eat, snack, and throughout the breaks. That's throughout the whole conference. Then at the end of the conference, we got a hearty meal waiting for them. We know we like to eat too, so and we get that's what that's for. And then we try to give the presenters a little plaque, and so but that covers the cost of those things. Now, let me tell you this here. That's the fee. That's it's like a donation. But if you don't have it, we're not gonna turn you back.
All right, there we go.
First, we ask the adults. If we know children, it's hard for children to get $10. Or the parents, single parents, they may not have extra money. Why don't you sponsor a kid? Or sponsor two? And I do that myself. I'm gonna pay for my ticket, and I'm gonna sponsor 2 or 3 people in the church. Why don't you do the same? However, if you come to the conference, and this is a man or a child, and you can't afford the fee, we ain't gonna turn you away.
All right,
that's crazy. I don't know what we don't do that here at True Vine.
Okay.
So we're gonna open the doors for you, whether you have it or not. We ask for it. We like for you to have it, but if you don't, you don't. And if you show up, we're gonna feed you. And we're gonna feed you with the word as well. We're gonna feed you physically, but we're gonna feed you spiritually as well.
All right, bro. All right. Set the record straight. The doors of the church is open, huh?
They open, man. They open.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, sometimes you need to break. We
don't turn nobody away, whether you have it or not. We like for you to help out, but if you can't, we understand that part, right? That's why we the community church. So come on in, baby. Come on in and get to some of this here.
All right. Well, listen. Let me get on back to you. Talked about young people who first instinct when they running into law enforcement, bro. It is, you know, their first instinct might be to run, flight. You know, I can tell you, within the Rapides Parish school system, my son, you know, when it came to a RPSO deputy, his demeanor was completely different between a deputy and an Alexandria police officer, for example. And with the exception, there were several brothers that, you know, officers that worked in the DARE program, you know, within the school system. And they had an opportunity to, you know, to work with the kids on a one-on-one basis. My son went to Peabody Montessori. I think it was Officer Desautels and Officer Briggs, who was the officers over there and the kids who met those officers, it was a completely different. So, you know, it's really important that all I'm saying is this: it's important that law enforcement, you know, do what's necessary to bridge that gap, because every child don't necessarily just automatically gravitate. But my observation, anytime, you know, my son would run into an RPSO deputy, it was a dap up. It was and it was a kind of a step backwards. So how do we as a community begin to bridge that gap between our children looking at law enforcement and not, putting themselves in a flight reflex kind of standpoint?
Yeah, that's tough. Here's what we're trying to do. That's why we got to have a conversation first, and we got to see where the law enforcement are at with this here. Because we don't have too many officer friendlies anymore. We used to call them officer friendly back in my days, right? Come over there. You see these kids at the park playing ball. They may be out in the streets playing. Why don't you get out there and play with them a little bit, or just have a conversation with them? Converse with, because that's the first reaction they do is they want to run from the police, and you know what that leads to. The first time you run, then they scared of you anyway. That's not just me talking. and they scared of you anyway because they don't you don't know what's going on with these youngsters today, and so next thing you know they're gonna pull a gun out when you start running. That's why we got to have a relationship with the people in the community. If you work in this community, see, that's part of my past as well. If you're going to be in this community, then you got to interact with the community people as well. So you got to go out there in the neighborhoods. Don't just go all the time when something's bad. Just ride around the neighborhoods and just say hi to people. They're sitting on the porch. They standing out. How y'all doing? Y'all all right? What y'all getting into? If y'all need something, call me. If something happens in your neighborhood, give them a call. Here go my card. If you see something happening and you think it ain't right, just call me, and I can help you with that. That's what we do, Ryan. I don't want to just lock people up. I want to solve some issues that are going on in our communities. But it's a collective effort, and law enforcement has a part. That's why we want law enforcement at the table.
That's right.
You see, that's why they got to be at the table to see, well, how do we bridge this gap? That's the gap we want to bridge. You see, but we got to have the dialogue. It's got to start somewhere.
It's got to start somewhere. I concur with you. And like I said, it's just, I'm just making an observation of what I saw with my child, and how he interacted with law enforcement and things of that nature. So my nephew Travis is sitting out there. He making comments right now. Travis, you put your deputy uniform on. He don't have no problems with you. He does. I want to quickly jump on over here. And I feel very confident. There's a lot of policemen, deputies, regular officers that are over at Pineville Police Department, over at Alexandria Police Department. They truly want to be a part of this solution and sitting down and bridging that gap. Because some of the best things that we do sometimes is when we see a young officer out there playing football, or either throwing a football, or either playing basketball with kids. They stopping and they maybe right in the middle of the road and that kind of stuff. So when you see those ambassadors doing that kind of stuff, they definitely need to be. That's the kind of stuff that can begin to build that trust factor and all of that kind of good stuff. So I think one of the things that we really need to get back into more of community policing, where when officer so and so is walking through the neighborhood, he see little Johnny doing something he ain't had no business doing. He pick up that phone and say, "Boy, I'm gonna call your mama." You know what I mean? and a little bit more to that part of it. I know we're dealing in the real world. It's not that way, but somehow or another, we got to begin bringing that process back into the equation.
Amen.
Yeah. Before we go there, I definitely want to touch on the family, though. And we hear family structure discussed. We kind of briefly talked about it earlier in the game. When the young people enter the criminal justice system, some people are so quick to say it's the family. How do we have that conversation honestly, without reducing every problem to whether a father lives in the household? Because it's a little bit more than just the family. The family is a very complex structure, and sometimes the family just have to have the finances, the roof over the head, some of the basic necessities. So how do we from a church's perspective, how do we start bridging, fixing, addressing this without reducing it just to the father.
Yeah, we got to help them with that. That's why we working on our 501c3 here, because until we can start writing grants so we can get resources to help people with their utility bills, help them with their rent, open up the church to have after school programs, because it's really daycare, it's aftercare for the students. They got to have somewhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to get in trouble out there, so we got to have programs for them to do that. We got a prison ministry here. I want to talk about that for a while, because once they get locked up, because it happens, right? Now you got the attention. So let's start working on them right now while they're still in prison. We do a writing campaign to our members that are behind prison walls, right? And when we give them some encouraging words, because we know they're gonna come home one day, and we got to start talking about how do we help them with that transition to come back home, right? And we also want to get behind the prison walls as well. If we can get back that rapid, we're working on something now to go into the pilot, that Pollock, or whatever y'all pronounce it now, Pollock or Pollock Federal Prison down there. We want to get behind the prison walls and start teaching some Bible studies back there. Because first of all, you got to get them while you got their attention.
Right.
I mean, you got the attention now. They ain't
you got their attention.
You understand? I know where you at, and I got your DOC number. So let's start communicating with each other. You got number time. You understand? I'm talking from experience. You got number time, so you can write a couple of letters. We can engage with each other. We can do a dialogue, and that's what we want to do with our prison ministry. We want to reach as many people as we can, because we know that they're gonna come home one day, and they got to be prepared to come home. You know, we got to make sure when you get out here, we got to find somewhere where you to get you a marketable skill, so you don't do the same things you did that go into the prison system. You see, so we I mean, it's tough, but it's not tough. But we got to have people on the outside here that are willing to put in the work. You know, if I want to see this church grow and move forward, we got to put in the work. You got to put in the work, and you got to do as much as you can on your watch, and you can't give up. I mean, it's a battle. We're on a battlefield. That's what this is. This is the battlefield, and you got to put on. You got to be combat ready all the time, and we trying to help as many people as we can. Right.
This evening we put almost everybody at the table tonight. You know, we kind of identified all of these different groups: the church, the school, the home, the church. You know, and on and on and on. And how? So, you know, I guess the question that I want, or the statement that I want, how did we get here isn't a question for one group. Maybe it's it's that question for everybody.
Yeah.
That, where did we collectively fail? It's not where did you fail, and what do we have to be willing to acknowledge before we can begin fixing things.
This one again, because we're here. We're here, and how do we get there? And we can point fingers at a lot.
That's right.
How we got there, right?
Right.
But we're here. So we do while we're here. How do we fix this so we don't have to stay here?
That's right.
Through this season that we're in right now, we can get through this season. And I really believe that the church has a profound impact on getting through this season. So we don't stay in it now. We're here, right? But we can get through this as well. And we can come out on the better end of this stick, because we can. God will change anybody. God will change anybody from anything. But if we got to have some positive things to talk to people about. And that's why this conversation is so important with this conference. It's so important that we sit down and have dialogues about this, and that's when we come up with solutions. I don't have them all. I know we're going to do our part as a community church, but tell me how we can help you.
That's right.
Law enforcement, you tell me how we can help you, councilman. You tell me how you can help you, pastors. How do we help each other? Because this is a collective effort. Because they steady dying on the streets, and they ain't gonna stop until we give them something else to do. They gotta have an outlet. We got to open up these gyms. We got to do those kind of things.
Yeah, bro.
We got a gym back here too, but that's resources.
That's right.
And somebody's got to be there.
Dame and I, my business partners, went up, and Damon, we often talk about it a whole lot about the resources and the recreational resources, opening those gyms up, having places for kids to go after school, safe spaces for them to be able to get to. And believe it or not, the resources to operate those kind of programs are some of the least expensive things that we can do, but have some of the largest impacts on the outcome of what these kids are doing. Because it seems here collectively, and again, I'm not pointing fingers, but I can flat out and say, when I was coming up in the 1980s, our community centers were open. You could go to them for an after school program. And there used to be tons of kids that used to hang out at the Martin Luther King Center, the Castle Street Community Center, the Bolton Avenue Community Center. We used to have the opportunity to head over to various church programs, after school for tutoring and whatever. You used to have the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCAs and things of that nature. And when you look at our community right now, it's those things that have disappeared, Yeah. So, but I went off onto a soap opera right there, but I'm gonna just leave that alone because we've been here about an hour now, and I want to say, if there's one thing that you want people to remember tonight, Bruce, from our conversation, what is that one thing you want them to remember and understand going into the meeting, the conference, and possibly joining us again for part 2 when we talk about what y'all going to do at the conference itself? Yes. What do you want them to remember from tonight?
Here's what I want you to take away from this conversation. I want you to know that True Vine Missionary Baptist Church wants to be a part of the solution and a part of the problem. Now we got some things we still need to work on, but we want to be on the part of the solution side. We don't want to sit back, because we can sit back and complain and cry about everything that's going on in this community that ain't good. Or we can try to come up with some solution to fix some of these things that ain't good in this community. And that's what I want you to take away with. True Vine is about solutions, about being a part of the solution as opposed to being a part of the problem in this community. And if you got some ideas to share with us, we want to collaborate with us, by all means, come talk to us. And let's work collectively, because we want to save as many lives as we can, as many souls as we can. But we got to bring them to the right spot. And True Vine Missionary Baptist Church wants to be that community church that's a part of the solution.
I hear you. Deacon Douglas, tonight we asked, how did we get here? And this is clearly isn't just about young people. It's about families, schools, law enforcement, churches, opportunities, community, and leadership. Now the question is, what are we going to do about it? You just said that. I think that's what we're both saying this. What are we going to do about it? That's where Bridging the Gap comes in. That you guys have planned for Saturday, September the 12th, from 8:30 to 2 p.m. And let me be clear. Well, over at True Vine Missionary Baptist Church at 831 Broadway Avenue. Registration is $10 for ages 13 to 17 and $20 for adults. But let me be clear why Deacon Douglas is here listening to me when I say this.
Yes, sir.
Nobody is going to be turned away at the door. It's just a donation. If you can double your amount and sponsor somebody else, by all means, please do so. But no one will be turned away for attempting to, even if y'all have to split the meals down half and half, y'all ain't gonna turn nobody around.
Nobody.
I hear you, bro.
Nobody. Crystal clear on that. Amen.
All right, that Deacon Bruce. We're gonna be back for part 2 next week sometimes, where we'll talk about exactly what's planned and what True Vine hopes to come from it. Thank you, Acadian Ambulance. Our Let's Talk silver sponsor for supporting important community conversations across Central Louisiana. I'm Jack. This is Let's Talk on UrbanCast, the people's platform. Again, that Dr. Douglas, I appreciate your time this evening and for keeping it real tonight, sir.
Amen, my brother. Amen.
All right, if you hang on in there, and if you hang in, I'm gonna go ahead and play our outro here. And again, for everybody out there, we really truly appreciate y'all for joining us and sticking in there with us this evening.
I heard about the ENT class through some of my friends. Went to a ride along, took the class, and then I was kind of like, well, here I am.
Getting to meet people that you've helped previously and seeing them on the street, or they've come by the station to say hello and thank you. It's just a rewarding experience. I would do it all over.
Searching for an unforgettable summer for your child? At Old Nell's Farm, campers spend days riding horses, learning horsemanship, caring for animals, making new friends, and enjoying real farm adventures. From beginners to horse lovers, our small camps offer a fun, safe, hands-on experience they'll talk about all year. Old Nell's Farm, DeVille, Louisiana. Call 318-794-9533 to register. Spots are limited.
Hi, this is Pastor Roger L. Green Sr., pastor of the Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church. We're welcoming you to our worship services on Sunday morning. Sunday school begin at 8 a.m. Worship services begin at 9 a.m. Come and grow with us, a place of faith, family, and fellowship. We would love to have you. Come see us Sunday morning. We'll see you there.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.